Start recording. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I was thinking, first of all, homework. I didn't send you the homework this time, so I guess I will leave it just for the next lesson. Many holidays. I guess you probably will find some time. But actually, about homework, thing is that for us, homework is the only way to understand did you get the topic or no. So it's not for like giving you some marks or appraising you. It's just for me to see that did you understand it or not, or should I do some probably extra explanation on some topics. I was thinking about today, and I guess we will do a practice round. We won't be taking functions today. You will have one lesson with me on second. Was it second? Let me check. Um, January. January 3rd. Yeah, we will have a lesson on 3rd. So you will have, all of you will have a lesson with me on 3rd, and then that data analysis part will go with Nikolai beginning from 5th. So for me, I was thinking, should I give you functions today or no? And I decided that I won't be giving any functions. We will use 3rd of January to look at functions, to work with functions, do some practice, so you will have an understanding about how functions are applied, how functions work in program, and so on and so on. As for today, I wanted to spend some time to work with while for loops and if else statement. I will also want to explain you one construction to catch errors. So there is one built-in construction in Python that catches different errors, and we will look at that. And second part, I want you to do a test. So test is about 1.5 hours today. There is 7 different exercises. 5 are more or less easy. 2 are complex. So 2, let's say, these are exercises with a star, with an asterisk. But the thing is, last 2 exercises, I only had one student who did all of them. But I still want you to try because I want to see how you are thinking. I will explain more, but during test you are allowed to use internet, to ask me for help, maybe speak with each other if you want. You are allowed to use all materials I gave you, pretty much everything. So it's exactly like you would be doing at work. So if you work somewhere as a programmer and you are told you're not allowed to use internet, that's a strange thing, because main thing that programmer needs to know and needs to understand is how to work with documentation, how to search for information, and how to apply whatever you found to your project, because no one expects programmer to know every single Python method, every single Python library, and know every single solution for every task. It's not like that, especially when you are a beginner. But actually, it doesn't work with senior programmers as well. So senior programmer doesn't know all of the Python. He knows how to search information and how to use this information he found to implement in his project. That's the main thing. And I will remind you that writing code is about 20% of programmer's time. So the rest is working with documentation, looking for information, different code reviews, and so on and so on. So let's continue. I want to explain you one topic. It's a error catching construction in Python. It's very important to avoid different critical errors, and I will remind you that critical error is an error where you I will be continuing actually in flow control because it's part of that. I will do a tester 2 for today. Tester 2. Topic is try except else statement construction. Uh, so what I want us to do now, I want to explain you this try except else construction, how it works, how it catches errors, how can it work with errors. And after that, we will continue working on this ID code program. So we will do it together. We will try to implement different solutions. And second part, we will be doing tests. So what are critical errors I was talking about? So critical error is some error. For example, x is equal to hello. And I will be trying to let's say save y variable with int from x. So we know that it is not allowed to convert strings into numbers if these strings don't consist of numbers. But if I do that, I will get a critical error. So what critical error means is this red error in output console. And basically, every time you have a critical error, Python code stops working at the point where error occurred. So basically, this code is wrong. It does have a mistake inside. And the problem with that is when we get to this line, nothing afterwards won't be working. So if I do a print goodbye, for example, in this same code, I will never see that in output. Why? Because Python will stop working at line 2. Errors actually is a good thing because my opinion that programmer only learns by doing. So you can watch, I don't know, millions of different videos, read a lot of different books. You can go to a lot of different courses, but if you don't start programming yourself, if you don't start writing code, if you don't get errors, and if you don't correct your errors for the code to work, you won't understand anything in the end of the day. So programming is all about doing, and these errors are common thing in Python. So you forgot to convert from one type to another while using plus operator, for example, or maybe you have a program that divides by some number and this number is zero. So Python does have a zero division error as well. We are not allowed to divide by zero. And errors is a good thing. Actually, in Python 3.12, we have an updated exception handling system. Exceptions are errors in Python. So errors are called exceptions. Bless you. And in Python 3.12, they extended exceptions. They made some predictions as well. So basically, what you have here, you see an error that says invalid literal for int with base 10. Okay, so it's a good thing. But this error doesn't say us a lot. But I will try to use something like daytime. You may not write it. That's okay. I will comment this out. Yeah, for example, let's say let's try it like that. It's still not working. It will do auto import. I'm just trying to make an error that will tell us. Okay, let's say print xy. Yeah, that's what I meant. So beginning from Python 3.12, errors not just only explain you what happened, but they also try to predict how to solve the error. So for this example, I created a variable x saying hello, and I print the variable xy. It doesn't exist. We didn't make a variable xy. Our variable name is x. And before that, if you use Python 3.11, 3.10, and so on and so on, you would just get a name error, xy is not defined, and that's it. So basically, that's what you would get with an older version of Python. Python 3.12 added these predictions. So actually, it scans your code and tells you that maybe you wanted to put x. Why? Because Python does see that you have an x variable. So it's good. Never be afraid of errors. And then another couple of things you can read here. When you find an error, you usually get a line number. So you usually get a line number where this error occurred. Second thing, you have a code sample in here. So basically, the piece of code that actually caused the error, it's not always like 100% sure that it was exactly this line of code. Maybe it was some line before that made other line cause the error. But usually, it's more or less exact. And you have a error type or error name or exception type, exception name. There are a lot of them. This one is name error because name xy doesn't exist, so it's a name error. I will speak about these different errors as well, and you have some explanation. So what actually happened in here? So errors in Python are very good, are very self-explanatory, and it's a good thing to get errors because you will learn by doing something to not to get this error. So that's shortly about exceptions. So what I want to show you today that there is a error checking algorithm or maybe construction that can actually help you to run code with errors but not getting exit code 1. So basically, if you get an error, you will provide a solution for this error without stopping program to work. And for that, you can use a try, except, else, finally construction. So these are four keywords: try, except, else, and finally. We will go step by step. So in order to show you how it works, I will first off start with, let's say, creating a variable number, and I will put input inside this variable. Let's say enter number. And print, let's say, int from number with power 2. So we already used something similar to that, and we know that converting input into, or basically input is a string in the end of the day. So converting a string to integer requires requires the string to have specific characters. So what sort of strings we allowed to convert to integer? Only strings with numbers. No floats, no maybe letters, spaces, or anything else. So we are allowed to convert strings with numbers only. But here we ask user to enter something. So if user enters something wrong, for example, he will write 1 like that, he will get an error and the program will stop working. So what we need to do here is to build some sort of construction or maybe code block that will check what user entered and then decide whether we should return this result or we should do something else. For example, if user entered some words or letters, we can't convert to integer, so we don't want to cause error. We can do this using if statement in this example, and if statement can be used with a show you a sec w free schools tutorials Python reference, and I will use string methods. If you look here, you have these different checks. Some of them I showed you, some of them I didn't. So is, they all begin with is. You know already that we have is upper or is lower. When was it? Is upper, is title, is lower. We did see all of that. But there are also such methods that control if all characters are numbers, for example. So you can actually use one of these methods. Let's check. I would check if it's decimal or is digit. So let's try find see the difference. So print number is digit and print number is decimal, and I will comment out the line that causes error. So if I enter some number in here, like that, digit decimal. So if I enter some integer in here, both of these methods will return true because string with numbers inside is both consist of digits and consist of decimals. If I use some float inside, both of them will return false. So yeah,
because you said consists of decimals.
decimals. Yeah. So what it does check.
So according to Python decimal, it's not like same thing as float with the decimal point.
Decimal point, yeah, and those of you who will go to, actually, you all will be doing MySQL with me or with Maxim, I'm not sure yet. In MySQL, there are different types of numbers you can store in database. And I already showed you that floats are not exact. So floats can actually have different results. If you don't remember, I can quickly remind you that we had 0.1 plus 0.2 resulting in that. So floats are not exact. You better not use floats. So when you speak about MySQL that database, they have a float field, they have a double field. These are different sized floats basically, and they also have a decimal field. So decimal field is an exact number. So if we use decimals later on, there is not such type as decimal in Python. But decimals are more exact. Actually, want to show you is decimal. Let's use Python documentation. So we will be looking at Python documentation is decimal. So speaking about numbers and different controls. This is a Python documentation, official documentation. So you can start. If you need some help, you can already start Googling. I told you don't look at documentation at first lessons, but now you are more or less, let's say, familiar with Python. So is decimal return true if all characters in the string are decimal characters and there is at least one character. So false otherwise. Decimal characters are those that can be used to form numbers in base 10. So what this checks actually that all of the entered things are numbers, or you also allowed to use Unicode representation of numbers. So it's like a code for some numbers. Is digit checks if these are numbers. So basically, if I use something like that and try my program again, put it here. Nope, be working like that. It actually doesn't allow this way. Um, Right, but these two are quite similar, to be honest, if we don't use this Unicode abbreviation. So you can use any of those to get a true or false for numbered string. So basically, if I do have a string with numbers, you get true. So we can use if else if statement, and for example, if number is digit, so we do this power or exponentation. If number is not digit, so we get false. We say, all right, you didn't enter number. But that's not the best way to do this because we have a lot of, maybe we won't be having some methods to check it. So you can remember these methods, but we will go to the try except else statement. So as I already told, this logic can cause a, why is it like that? Oh, sorry, we need to int from that. Stop return. So if I enter some letters, I'm getting a value error. So let's try and let's try to go over that, and we will use this try except error construction. So what am I doing? I'm writing a try with a colon. It doesn't take any arguments, and I put inside a code that can possibly cause an error. So in my case, this conversion to integer of a user input can cause an error, a name error, because a value error actually, because user may enter something that is not a number, that is impossible to convert to integer.
Can we do it this way that we will block user entering
No,
the
not like that in console.
Mhm.
So you actually
We
can,
can
but
write if else statement where we'll write.
yes, but you won't always will always be having these methods. So there is method to check if it's all numbers or all letters, for example. But if it's something else, if you want, for example, user to enter, uh, let's say, three numbers dash three numbers dash four numbers. So there are different ways of catching errors like that. So if else statement is more a conditional statement. That means that you use if and else statement in order to check if, for example, something is done or is not done, or is it, let's say, empty variable, or there is some information in it. So basically, if and else is your decision maker. So by using if else, you decide what part of code should you do, and what you should, let's say, what action you should take. Try except else is more like a classic way of catching errors. So what I do, I put a try statement, and then I put print int number powered by 2 inside it. So I already know that this part of code can cause a value error by converting, for example, letter string into integer. So what I do here, I create an except, and I will create except like that. You might get a warning here for too broad except condition. We will speak about that later. So here I will print that, let's say, number is not a number. So let's say is not integer, is not an integer. So this is the least part of this construction. So only try and except clauses. And what happened now? So if I run this program and enter a number, 10, I will get a 10 powered by 2, so 100. But if I run this program and enter something illegal, let's say text, this program will provide me with this print statement instead of the one inside try. So what happens here is that you put a code that may potentially raise an error, and sometimes you know that. For example, here we understand that we give user opportunity to enter pretty much everything that he wants, and we will be converting it into integers. So we are putting it aside try, because I know that potentially may cause an error. So inside try, we run some code by trying, does it cause error or not? If it doesn't cause any error, this code will be executed normally. If it does cause some error, then the except statement will be executed. So this code won't be shutting a program down. Let's change it a bit. Let's say that I put a result variable here and put everything inside the print as a value for a result variable. So if I try to print a result here, and let's say it's causing error, I will get an error because result is not defined. Actually, when you get an error inside try, I can do it like that. It will be working. So if you get error inside try, none of the variables inside try are declared. So you need to be careful with that. So what we do, we have try. There's a potential mistake in there, or potential exception. We have accept, and we can have an else statement. And inside else statement, I will print out the result. Let's try. I put some illegal text inside. I will get an ASD is not a integer. But if I put a legal text inside, well, numbers actually, I will get a result. So else is pretty much opposite of accept. So accept executes when you get an error inside try, and else executes when you don't get an error inside try. So this is how you can catch different errors. So if an error occurred inside try, you will get accept, body of accept closure. But if there is no error inside here, you will get the body of else here. So as you saw before, else is not compulsory. Actually, except is. So you can't leave just try else. So you need to have except, at least one except. I will show later that you can have many different exceptions, but at least one must be provided. So try and accept. Else is optional. So if you don't have any else, your code will run afterwards. So everything that is below try accept will be working in any ways. So what's finally? Finally, finally is the fourth part. I myself don't use it often, but I will say print goodbye here, and we'll try running this code couple of times. So if I enter a number here and run this code, I see that the finally closure did execute. So I did get a goodbye message inside my console. But also, if I put some text inside, I will still get a goodbye statement. So basically, finally executes no matter what. So finally is a closure that will be done anyways. Did you get an error or you didn't get an error? It doesn't matter for finally. So finally doesn't work. So let's comment it here. So except executes in case of error inside try, else executes in case of no error inside try. Finally executes no matter what. Let's do it like that. And try checks code for critical error. So this construction has many cases of usage. It's not only with inputs. Sometimes you, for example, ask a database for information, and your code requires that you did get some information from database. And for example, if the database is empty, you will have to. You might get error. It depends on your code, but you might get error because your code might be starting to index a list of database data and you didn't get anything, or maybe there is a server error, you don't have connection with database or anything else. So all of these errors needs to be checked, and try except else finally is actually a good way to catch these errors. So once again, finally is not compulsory. Finally works anytime the code is run, but you can use it if you want. Else is not compulsory, but I do recommend you to use else. So basically, I did change code a bit. We had the print statement in try before, and what I recommend you do you do something like that. So you actually test a code inside try, and if you want to use it later on, use it inside else statement. So this way you will be 100% sure that in case of error you won't be getting to this code, and in case of no error, you won't be using this part of the code. So let's see what else can we do with that. For example, I want I understand that I might have different errors here. So not just one like I showed now, but I might have a couple of different errors. For example, I will be, let's say, I will just use number and divide it by 0. It does show me error. You're not allowed to divide by 0. Let's say int from number. Sorry, int from number. So actually, division by 0 is not legal in Python. If I comment this out and just print you, for example, 10 divided by 0, there is a 0 division error in Python. I will also print you an int of some string. So this is a value error. So we have different errors. Value means we provided the wrong value for integer method. Zero division is that we divided by 0. So what can we do about that? I do have two errors here. So this one may be a value error, and this one will definitely be a zero division error. So while writing exceptions, you are allowed to state what sort of exception are you catching with this except statement. So if I put value error in here like that, except value error. So this except statement will work only when you have a value error occurred inside try. So if I run this code again and enter some number, you see that it says it's not an integer because I did make a value error. But if I do another one, I will get a zero division error that is not catched. Why it's not catched? Because we don't have any except clause for zero division errors. So you can actually put different errors in here. So we can make another one. Except zero division error, print you are trying to divide by 0. So I enter a number here and I get the corresponding message. So you are trying to divide by 0. So for every single exception that can be occurred here, you can use a different except. And if you look at warnings, we won't have any warnings now about that. We shouldn't have. What does it say? It's PF8, new line, no new line at the end of the file. That's okay. But for example, I will leave some except like that. Let's say print hello, and you might see that type of warning. So too broad exception clause. So what Python recommends you to do is never leave an empty except. So Python wants you to always add some sort of exception in there in order for you to catch it separately. So what is allowed, because you will pretty say built-in exceptions in Python. Um, I will open this Python documentation again now. So, where are all of these? Yeah, they're all here. So there are many of different exceptions, and you may probably you won't see most of them for a long time. But uh, if you look at built-in exceptions in Python docs, you can Google it. You see that there are different arithmetic error, buffer error, lookup error, attribute error, generator exit, import error. So in case you don't have anything to import, module not found error. You're trying to import something that doesn't exist, OS error, and so on and so on. So you might be curious at how many different mistakes I need to know. Actually, you don't have to know anything. Just when you doing your code and you see some mistake coming, you can use a try except statement if you want to catch it. But for all of the exceptions that you make yourself, because it is allowed to use a raise keyword and raise any exception you want. So basically, you can do some statement. For example, if length of ID code is not equal to 11, raise exception. So you can create exception yourself, and for that, usually it is usually used as normal exception. So it's like general exception class, or you can create your own. Let's say my exception equals exception. So raise my exception. Let's do it like that. Uh, don't want this except here. One more time. So exception. So you can raise exception. Actually, there is a mechanism working with exceptions in Python. Exception Python. But I don't want to explain a lot about exceptions now because it's quite big topic. So you can, if you want to get this information earlier, you can look through documentation. I wanted to show one thing. Yeah, we need functions for creating all own exceptions. So yeah, you can add something in here. So you can say, for example, my own exception, and it will be showed here. So exception, my own exception. So you can actually give your own exceptions as well. And here you can do an except for my exception. Then print hello. Will it work? Nope. Except my catching classes that do not inherit. Okay. So I need it to make it outside of this construction. Then it should be working. Nope. Catching classes that. Okay. Base exception. If I do it like that, still no. Still no? Okay, I will come back to exceptions a bit later. But what you need to understand that if you want to raise your some sort of exception, so you can do it like that. Then you just use exception here. Exception. Or there are others. So you can actually use, for example, raise zero division error or raise value error. Or there is one that is often used, user warning. So you can do this. No, it means that when you reach this part of the code, the given exception will be raised. So I'll show you in a different example. It's forced raising exception. So basically, if I do it like that, raise, let's say, zero division error, my code will raise zero division error at this time. So it's basically making a code to create an exception. An error. An error, yeah. Exception is error, so they called exceptions in Python. So it is like that. Value error, you can cause it. Why am I showing this? I will come back to our ID code thing we started last time, and I actually will create a separate file for that. I'd say ID code validator. And I want to start writing a program for this ID code. We did some part last lesson. Let's check what we had there. We had this while true. I think we'll be doing it from scratch. So we did some menu part separately. We did length checking separately, but that's okay. We'll start it over. So what I want to do, I want to write a program that starts, asks person to enter his national ID, which Estonian national ID is 11 digits long and it has numbers only. So I wanted user to enter this code. I want user to keep entering code before he does it correctly. So if he, for example, puts some letters inside and letters are not allowed, I want program to ask user to type in code again. And only after user does enter the right code, we will be redirecting him to main menu where he can take different data from ID code. So let's start with first part. So just because I need to have opportunity to re-enter the code, what should I use? If I want user to enter code as many times as, of course, input, but what a construction, if, for, while. So while is a cycle that can return us to the beginning of the code many times. So I will be using while, and I will be using while with a true statement right inside it. So I don't want any separate conditions. I want it to be like that. So next thing I want, bless you, next thing I want to use is an input. So I need to ask user to enter an ID code. So let's do it. I will name the variable ID code and put an input statement inside. Please enter ID. Right, I can actually, it's 11 numbers. I can actually write down my own ID here. It's just for examples, and we will be having a validation part, and there's different types of IDs. Some IDs are validated by first step only, and some IDs are validated by two steps. So mine is the one that needs two steps. So if you will struggle to get some ID that for testing, you can use mine. So next, I need to check that person entered everything correctly. First of all, I need to check if whatever he's entered is all numbers. Second thing, I need to check the length. So I need to know that if a user entered a short, long, or a normal length of ID code. And I will be using try, except, else statement in here. So first of all, I will type try. And I need to check two different things in here. First thing will be, is it all numeric? So is it all numbers? And the easiest way is by converting to integer. So we get a value error if entered ID is not numeric. And I don't actually want to store somewhere this ID as an integer. Why is that? Because later on in our program we will be addressing different parts of ID code to get information. And I can index a string, input will return us a string with ID code. I can index string easily and get all needed parts from a string. But if I convert it to integer, I won't be able to index. So I will have to convert to string again somewhere else. So that's why I don't want to save the converted result. I just need to try converting this input into integer and check if it will cause error or no, because this will tell us that if error occurred, this means that it is not numbers. Is it understandable?
Yeah.
Yep. So what I do here, I just do that. So I won't be saving it to variable. I don't want to print it. I just want to try to convert. It is allowed in Python. This code won't be shown anywhere, but it will still be executed. So you can have some piece of code without variable. It's okay.
Value error.
Except value error. That's right. Except value error. We will print that ID you entered is not numeric. You entered or must be numeric. ID must be numeric. Let's say try again or type exit. Let's do exit thing as well, so the user will have opportunity to exit the program on this step already, so he doesn't want to enter as many times. And just because we added this exit thing, we need to work with it inside our while. So we need some construction that checks what user entered, and if it is exit, we will finish the program. So I can add it here right after the ID code. I don't need try except for that, because if it's exit, it's exit. So I don't need to check anything here. And how can I do that? Any ideas? Break, of course, will break the cycle and close the program, but I need to check user's entry, so I will be using if statement. So I will say if ID code, let's say lower just maybe user entered the exit in large, in capital letters. So we will check it as lower, so we will quit anyway.
But do we really need it? Like lower?
If
they type
yes, because when we compare strings, lower and uppercase are different letters. So if user, for example, enters exit with capitals, it won't work. So that's why I usually convert it to lower, so I can compare to the same way of style of writing. Let's say we will print a goodbye here, goodbye, and then break the cycle. Do we need else or a leaf here or something else? No, because the only thing we want to do is quit the program or break the while cycle as soon as user's entry is exit.
I have one question.
Yes.
Why we didn't assign like the ID code
Yeah.
while creating the variable in the name? Why we are not writing like with underscore?
You may do that. I usually don't put underscore when
Which
it's
one is like cleaner or better?
Underscore is better, but in this case, I use it as a one word, so ID code. Basically, if I wanted to use camel case, I would have to be doing like that. First letter is small if I want two words from this.
Yeah.
But cleaner using underscore. So if you want some large, let's say couple of words, for example, user name, it's cleaner to use that because Python methods use underscore. For example, if you do JavaScript, JavaScript methods use camel case. That's why it's better to use camel case in JavaScript, so all of the code is in the same style. But in Python, yeah, it's better to use underscore. So if user enters exit, we will break the program. We can actually test it already. So enter something, enter something, enter something what is numeric, so we don't get this except error. We don't have any else, that's why nothing happens when we enter the right thing. But if I type exit, even in capitals, we will quit. So everything is working. We did check that number entered is consists of all numbers, but another thing we need to check is the length of the number, and it's harder with lengths because if I use if statement here and check length, it won't cause any critical errors. So it can say true or false, but both of these results are not errors. So what I will do here, I will check length. So I say if len ID code is, let's say, is equal to 11. We have 11 numbers in Estonian national ID. Mm, for now, we'll just print uh, goods and print the ID code. So everything works, length is correct. Sorry?
ID code is valid.
Mm-hmm. No, well, not valid, but it's, let's say, entry is legal. It's 11 digits long and all numbers. Else, so in case it is not equal, length of ID code is not equal to 11, I will actually do two different statements in here. I will do a too short or too long to point user that where they are occurred. So I say that if len ID code is less than 11, I will print that ID is too short, and else I will print ID is too long. Too long.
Why did we didn't write elite?
Because there is no other variance. So if it is equal to 11, we will catch it in this step. If it's not equal to 11, we only have two variants. It's less or more. So actually we don't need to write a leaf here because there is no possibility that something else will happen. Okay, we do get this message, but message won't actually create an error for us. So doing this message, by doing this message, we only tell that something was wrong, but no errors will occur. So what can we use here? We can actually raise an error ourselves. So just create an exception. So I will do a raise exception. I will only have one, that's why I will use just exception as length exception. Am I allowed to do that here? Nope. So let's leave an exception. So raise exception, and what we actually achieved here. So first thing, this bit will check if it's all numbers. So if it's not all numbers, we will raise a value error, and we have an except for that. Checking length is a bit different thing. So we need to check to make sure that length is not correct. And when we understand that length is not correct, it's our else statement here, so pretty much everything here. We will print out a message and raise an exception. Why am I putting this raise exception beneath the if else statement? So on the same line here. Because I want if else statement to execute anyways. So I wanted to send the message to user first of all, to the console, and only then raise an exception. So let's work with this exception as well. Except exception print print, and what we will print, we actually will take all of that. So we will take this if else statement and print this message inside exception closure. So I will cut this out, leave this raise exception thing, and put everything inside here. So in case length of ID code is not equal to 11, we raise an exception and send user to execute this code.
Why this is better? Like, why we should use these
Instead of doing what?
previous?
Previous.
Yeah.
So how can you? No, actually, yes, you can do this, but it's better for more complex solutions. So I'm showing you on a simple example. But if you write a program that may cause, for example, 10 different errors, and you need to behave differently with each error, if else can't catch errors. So I can check if length is correct, if it's all numbers, for example, using that. But if some code will raise, let's say, file not found error, how can you catch it with if? There is no way to catch it with if. Or maybe connection error, or maybe there's some, I don't know, maybe some error from the server. Plus, it's not only Python errors. So when you will connect MySQL, you will get all of the MySQL errors inside your Python as well. And MySQL has over 1,000 different error types. So each move, for example, you are asking for non-existing data. You are trying to create table that already exists. You are trying to create database that already exists. You're trying to insert something to immutable field, and so on and so on. So pretty much all of these errors can be actually caught by try except else. So we do have that, and what I want you to do is to think about how should we behave. So in case of typing exit, we used break. So we want to break this cycle and stop the program. That's logical. In case of value error, we want user to enter his number again. And what I will do, I will put a continue here because I don't want to execute any code that is below. I want to start over from the beginning. And I will use continue in here as well. Continue. Does everyone understand why I put continue on the same line as if and else?
Yeah, because it should work only with it.
Yeah, it should work no matter what happens here. So these are both wrong entries. Otherwise, I would have to do it like that. I would have to put one here. Stop. And one here. So I have to create copies of some code, and it's not a good thing. So instead of that, you can put it right over here, and it will do the if else statement, and after that, we'll use the continue clause. All right, else. So we did actually a big part of error checking for our program, and our program will work this way that there is no way user can enter something wrong. So it will continue working. And I'm not sure how much you were in situations where you download some program and it says you start using it and then some error occurs. Program turns off, you need to run it over again, and so on and so on. So your task as a developer to do all of the error checking so user won't have ability to see an error inside the program. We're still not 100% safe because some errors can be because of our system, some errors can be because of, I'm not sure, I don't know, about our hardware and so on and so on. But everything that depends from us needs to be done for user to use it safely. So speaking about else will be a menu. So menu where we want to return and check. For example, one will be checking the date of birth, two will be checking the gender, three will be checking the region of birth, and so on and so on. So for that menu, I need another while. So I want person to return. I don't want person to return to the beginning in here. So I don't want him to enter ID code 100 times if he uses this program 100 times. So what I do here in else statement, if all of these are correct, so basically code consists of numbers, length of the code is 11, none of these errors occurred, we can start a new while here. While true. So now you see that you have a while inside a while statement. And it's a good example because we can see how break works when you have two cycles inside each other. Because here break will break this while cycle. But if I put break here, for example, uh,
It will stop on later.
it will stop only that. So you need to understand how these breaks can be used in order to achieve different tasks. So what we will do here, I will do a user choice variable, user choice. It will be an input. And just because I want to write many different things in here, I will be doing it like that. So I start a string and say one gender slash n to do a line break. Then I say to date of birth slash n slash n side. Free will be region of birth. 4 will be validation. 5 will be change ID. And I will use 0 to exit. What I also like to do, I usually leave something like that as the last thing. It's all because you need to point user where to enter. Because if I stopped here, user would have to enter on the blank line. You will see it when I run the code. So it's not some Python construction. It's just an arrow to point where your text should go. And you can add even more different numbers here if you want. So if your program will be doing something else with ID code. So gender, date of birth, region of birth, validation, changing ID. By changing ID, I mean give opportunity to enter new ID number. And exit will quit the program. So this is a string. I just write it like that, so it will be more readable inside the code. I'm not writing everything in one line just to make it more readable. So it's not compulsory, but you can do it so it will be easier for you to read your code as well. So after that, I need an if-elif statement to check, to actually give opportunity to execute different code for each of these numbers. So it's a menu, something like we did on the last lesson. As far as I remember, I showed you that already. Yeah.
I have a question. What's the difference between the if and the
If always starts an if statement. So if you want to check something, you must use if. You can't use elif without if. Elif is used when you have a second, not second, no, it's not just second if. It's like when you have second condition. So you want to not just say else, like, all right, is if x is larger than 100 or else. Or maybe you want to do if x is larger than 100, is less than 100, or 0. So you have two different, let's say three different things to check. But else is used when all of the other, like say, all of the other variants are in else. So basically, if you want to do them separately, you use elif after if. And if you want to do if and everything else, then you can use else. So that's the main difference. So I do if user choice equals to, should I put integers or strings here? Basically, I need these numbers. If user entered 1, 2, 3, should I put integers or strings? Strings. Why is that? Because input always returns a string. It doesn't matter what you type, the data type of what input returns is a string. So I can use that. Or if I want to use integers, I will have to convert user choice into integer then, if I want to check that. Because input always returns a string. So I will be using strings. You can convert and use integers if you want. But it's better to use strings in this case because you don't have to do some extra job. So you don't have to convert anything. And I will leave a pass inside here because I won't be writing any code. You will do it at home. Else a leaf. Why I use a leaf? Because I might have another variant of what person answers. That's why I do another condition. User choice is equal to 2. Pass. Same again. I will leave them empty for now. User choice equals 3. Pass. Elif user choice equals 4. Its validation, it will be empty as well. Elif user choice equals to 5. We can actually do that. Change ID. What I mean by that? I mean that person can go back to this part of the code and enter ID again.
My brain stopped working.
But I will go through all of this code from top to the bottom again. Let's do it now. Yeah. Yeah, you will get this file as well. You can use it. One of part of your homework will be filling out this bit of code. So actually getting information from ID codes. But let's start over. I will explain. So this first while true is needed for us to ask person his ID as many times as needed before he will enter it correctly. It's okay with that, yeah? So
but can we have like a break and after you will?
yeah, I want to start test after break.
Okay.
So I want to. It won't take long. I will do like 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and we'll go to the test. If we won't be able to finish that at home or some bits of it, not all of that, we will be doing that next lesson as well together. So it's okay. So thing is, you enter ID, then we have this check for if user entered exit, so we can break the cycle and just quit. We'll try converting ID code to integer and raise value error if it cannot be converted. So it will give us information that ID code is all numbers or no. This part will raise error in case length is not correct. And we have two exceptions. So value error exception tells us that ID is not numeric, and except exception tells us that ID is too short or too long. Both of them have continue clause, so we can stop code wherever it is and start over again from the beginning of the cycle. And so in case something is wrong, one of these exceptions works, we just go to the beginning and try it again, try entering again. Else is in case that everything in this part was done correctly. So ID is 11 digits long, it's all numbers. Then we start another while cycle. And we will be in this cycle all the time before if we don't quit. So here what I did for you is just an input saying gender. Let's do it like that. I will say pass here as well, and you can see. So enter ID. I enter a couple 11 numbers long. It doesn't matter what numbers I enter. Good. So I do get this menu. It's just a string we created. So if I push 1, it will send me back to the menu. We don't have any code inside the leaf, so it's nothing to execute. 2, 3, 4, 5, actually pretty much everything. Except 100, it will still work. So basically, this part is just a menu. So it's just a menu that asks user, what do you want to do? Press 1, for example. 1. Okay, execute everything that is inside this condition if user press 1, and then go back to the beginning of menu, say again, what do you want to do next? Yeah, what do you want to do next? Uh, for these 4 bits, I will explain later. You will do this at home. You will just write some pieces of code that will take numbers from ID code and, for example, give some result. For example, male or female, male are even, no, male are odd number, first number of ID code. Male are odd number, a female are even number. So you can check if first number of ID code is odd or even, and understand is it male or female, and you can return the gender. For example, this is part 1 piece. So I want you quickly to go through change ID and exit. Yes, so I'll do elif user choice equals 0 as well, pass, and I will do else. Why do I need else? In case user enters anything that is not in this list. So maybe 6, for example. We don't have an elif statement for 6, so what we do here, we just print number is, or let's say choice is out of range. So you choose something that is not allowed. And the biggest problem now for us is this 5 and 0, because 0 needs to quit program and 5 needs us to return to previous cycle to enter ID code again. Uh, Here in the beginning, we used this construction. So if user enters exit, we exit the program, and we were exiting by using break. What break did? It did finish this cycle. So if I use break here, in this cycle inside, it will only break a second cycle. So this menu cycle, let's say. And we will be returning to the beginning. So I can't quit with break here because I will be quitting only one cycle and I need to quit 2 cycles. So in Python, you are allowed to use a quit method to stop program. So basically every time you find a quit, program stops working at this point without any errors. It's just a quit. Or you can also use an exit. Exit or quit, it's both of them are same commands. So you can write exit, and every time you push 0, it doesn't matter how many cycles we are inside, we will just quit the program. So stop working. That's it. And in order to return to previous menu, we only need to break this cycle. So person will be returned to this cycle because it's still running. So we can use break in number 5. Yep, break. And if I do that, do a short ID, 2 shorts, do a long ID, 2 long, enter some letters, ID must be numeric, I'll try exit, it also works, I will enter 11 numbers, we go to menu, 5 change ID, enter, please enter ID again, I'll do another 11 numbers, we are back to menu, I will push 0, oh let's try something, 10, choice is out of range, so I will use 0 and I will quit the program.
What if you write 3?
Free? Nothing because it has passed. It will just put you back to menu. Well, I can show. That's 1, 2, 3. Free. It will reload the menu because we have nothing inside here. But you can actually, let's say, print choose 1. I'll do it like that. Instead of pass, I will just put hmm, instead of pass, I will do this. 2, 3, 4. So 1 will press choose 1, 2 choose 2, 3 choose 3, 4 choose 4. So we just needed to add something inside so it will work. So that's pretty much it for the program part. That's why I did it with you. So we have this while cycle. We will be looking at functions next lesson, and I will explain you how to split it in different functions, and it will work better. But for now, we have this try except else thing to check errors in entries. Then we have this menu over here, and your homework will be already showed you. If you write easy code uh, to Google and get this first page on Wikipedia, it's in Estonian. I recommend you to translate it with this Google Chrome built-in translation. Because if you translate it, not take a page from Wikipedia on different language, there might be different information in there. And what you need to do at home is think about at least first three. Four is quite complex. Try at least about these three. So you have first number of ID code that tells you the gender, first of all. So gender, as I told before, odds are male, even are female. First number of ID code. And also it says first two numbers of year of birth. You can see it from this table here. So 1 and 2 is male and female, born in 18th. So 3 and 4 19th, 5 6 20, so 2000, 7 8 4 21. That's meant for later. So what I want you to do is first check first number of ID and print a statement. Is it male or female? So part one. Part two, I want you to return a date of birth, but I want you to do it not just like say 29 12 23. I want you to do it 29 12 2023. And if we look at ID code, second and third number gives you year of birth, but they only give you two last numbers. So it's 00 for 2000, 99 for 99, and so on and so on. So you need to get first two numbers from first ID code character, and then two numbers will be from second and third. So you will get the full date.
So from the number, we are getting second and third in like number.
From ID code, it's a string.
Second and
You
third.
take second and third to get a birth year. Fourth and fifth is a birth month, and sixth and seventh is a birth day.
Yes.
But also first number is used to get these two numbers of year. Is it 1800, 1900?
So we should write out like it from the in mind from the four. I should write in the. I should print out that it is, let's say, female born in.
No, for example, I don't know, 01 20 2021.
Okay.
So it needs to do a full date. I can actually see, put it
I mean,
here.
how the result should look like.
I will say just a result. Let's say I will do it like that: day, month, and four numbers for year.
Okay.
So you just print one date of birth, nothing else. It's a string. Well, you have dots inside, so two numbers for day, two numbers for month, and four numbers for a year. So these are first two. The third one, it actually does say that ID codes that were given before 2013, but we won't be checking that. If you want, you can do it, but we won't be checking that. Basically, ID code numbers 8 to 9. So all of the rest, but not the last one, should represent you with region of birth, or basically the hospital where person was born, if he was born in Estonia. But we can check if he was born or not. We won't be checking before 2013. What I want you to do is just realize a part that will check if these three numbers in ID code are within this range, and then you put something, whatever it says here. You can just copy text, that's okay. So you will have if ID code numbers 8, 9, 10, however you will pick it, is in this range, so you need to check that. So it returns this value if another range returns this value. In all of the rest cases, let's say more than 700 or whatever, you can use not born in Estonia. No, because this was meant for people born in Estonia. So
It's interesting. Mine is 04.
when did you get it?
I get it 18, like 2018.
Yes, works only for those before 2013. So I was born in Estonia. I have 027, and if we look here, 027 is that, and I was born in Peligulinnas unit as well. Those who were born in Tallinn, yeah, all were born there. So actually, I do have this 027, and my parents were born in Estonia. They also have 02
Yeah, but
something.
there is not a new one.
Only for those who get their ID before 2013. I'm not sure why, but beginning from 2013, they don't use this region system. But it doesn't have to work for us for your ID. What I want you to do, it has to work for your code. So it's a good practice. So these are first threes. The fourth one, you can check it yourself. It's a validation process. There is a formula in here as well, but I don't want you. Let's say there's two ways of doing that. You have these two weights, so basically 10 numbers, and you need to take first number of ID code, multiply with first number of this weights, then add second number of ID code multiplied by second number, and so on and so on. And then you have to find the remainder dividing by 11, and if remainder is the same number as the last number of ID code, then it's valid. If it's not, you take second weight and do the same thing and check again. uh, I want you, let's say if you finished with all three of those, you can try doing that. You can use four cycle. It's a bit harder task using with four cycle because you need to do some algorithms. But what you can also do is, let's say, ID code 0 times check 0 plus ID code 1 times check 1, and so on and so on. So actually you can write this formula as Python variables indexing these codes. It's up to you. But I want you to do first three parts. First of all, try to do it. And what we do, how do we write it? So basically, finding and gender goes here inside this if statement. First one, finding date of birth, everything goes here. Region of birth, everything goes here. So we actually have these spots for your code. You can do it at home. Right, let's do maybe questions. Questions. Okay, if you won't manage to do that, you can write me. I can help if you have some problem, or else we will do it on our next lesson on 2nd of January. All right, let's do a break for then.